Hey, what's up, guys? Give me a second. I actually just got upstairs, so I'm going to get my other screen up while people get in. And yeah, so we're going to do a quick live stream tonight. I do apologize about last night. Just had some technical issues, couldn't get it going. So that's what happens. But all right, let me go ahead and pull up my other screen and we'll get started here. Content. So you guys are wondering what I'm doing. I go over to the other live stream, make sure that it's set to active, and then I pull up the chat bar so I can see your guys' stuff a little bit sooner. All right, here we go. Pop it out. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to do a maybe 15 to 30-minute live stream, nothing too crazy. If you guys want to ask questions, they can be reef related, non-reef related. Just going to hang out for a little bit, fill you guys in on kind of what's going on, and go from there. So yeah, you can start asking your questions again, reef related, non-reef related. Not really too particular at the moment, but yeah. So welcome everybody to the stream. I'm going to get my banner up here. If you guys are wondering, I'm still doing. Oh, looks like they updated everything. Okay, cool. So if you guys are wondering why I haven't put any content out, as I mentioned the last live stream, I actually had to go to Vermont this past weekend to see my dad. He just started hospice. He is actually, he has cancer, but he's not dying from cancer. He's dying from liver failure from drinking too much. And then Thursday, before we went up on Friday, my uncle passed away. So we went up and, did that too. So it's been a crazy weekend. Just got back at like 2 a.m. on Monday. So just getting the swing of things. I did let you guys know in the post today that if you sent an email over the weekend and you haven't heard back from me, just give me a couple days. I'm pretty caught up at the moment, but there's still a few left. So if you haven't heard anything, it is what it is. I will get back to you. Other than that, the any other updates? No, we got the buy 3, get 1 free for 3D printing. Just add 4 items to your cart and one of them will be free. So yeah, it's cool. What's up, Darren? I got your text, man. I just haven't had a chance to reply to you yet. But I'll get back to you, man. I know that we got to set up something too. I got to look at your Apex. I still have it on my screen, so I'll have to check it out. Other than that, yeah. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to add them. If not, I'm going to ramble for a few minutes and go from there. Now, dyno identification. If you guys are wondering, I got 2 emails asking if I'm still selling, and I'm not sure why. There was a glitch for a little bit where it wasn't popping up, but the dyno identification is still there. So don't worry, it's still there. I don't know. Sometimes Shopify is a little weird. Sometimes stuff just doesn't show up. Sometimes it doesn't work. WYSIWYG's back up on the website, all that good stuff. If you guys are interested, I will do a update on the 300. If you guys remember in the 300 before, actually on the video here, if you look on the left-hand side, the big green Slimer colonies. Now, of course, this is an older video. They grew out quite a bit more than this before they got knocked over by Big Bertha. I went ahead and actually put them back in the 300 at the very bottom and just let them sit on the rock by the rock structure, mainly because I just didn't want them in the low boy anymore. So they're in there. I added some dunking corals to the 300. I am going to be cutting up the Galaxia coral because it grew over the plug. So I got to cut that up. We're going to be cutting up the big Lobo. So stay tuned for that video. I'm actually going to get one of those handheld jigsaws, like the bigger ones they use to like cut through like 2x4s and stuff like that. So I am going to get a special blade and cut through the Lobo. I'll do that on a video, and then I'll probably put a few of them up for sale on a WYSIWYG. Yeah, and then I can go ahead and put the Lobo back into the 300 and start growing it out again. So I'm pretty excited about that. Right now, with it being too big, I can't put it in the 300. It takes up too much room. And as I mentioned before, I was originally going to put that Lobo in a new tank at the new house and just have it be there by itself. But that tank would literally have to be 3 foot wide just to really accommodate that and look decent, plus have the sweeper tentacles. So, yeah, I'm probably just going to cut it up and start over. I don't think Brian would be too upset about that. So it is what it is. But from the UK, what's up? Oh, some loud crickets in the background. Let me shut the window. I didn't realize it was that loud. Yeah, we have the little, like, it's not a pond, but it's a little mini creek out back full of cattails and stuff, and it's going pretty crazy in there. Can you bring back when you used to make fun of people's reefs. You mean roast my reef? You want me to bring back the roast my reef videos? Yeah, I could do those. They have to go on a separate channel. I do have the roast my reef channel because when I uploaded them to this channel originally, I got seriously striked and got blacklisted pretty quick. They're just not appropriate for this channel. They're pretty funny though. I really do enjoy them. And if you go to the Discord, I know people were kind of doing stuff like that on the Discord, so feel free to have some fun over there. But yeah, I can do that. You can, if you want, Austin, you can submit your reef to fishofhex@gmail.com. You can, if anybody wants to reef, if you want me to look at it and talk about it, just send it in and title it roast my reef or rate my reef or whatever, rank my reef, and then it will automatically get funneled to that section of the email, and I will be able to do that for you. All right, so Artenius and Millie's the more light demanding acropora. Millie's seem to be more, but when it comes to acroporas, I pretty much can grow. You can pretty much grow any acropora successfully at about 350 par. Any acropora that I've ever had at that par has done fine. Now, of course, they'll grow a little bit faster with a higher par, but with that growth, you'll sacrifice coloration of the coral. So there's a happy medium. That's why I said the 300 to the 350 range is pretty good, because the 250 range is where you're going to have 250 and below. You're going to get darker corals, but they're not going to grow as quickly. So you're going to get a little bit more coloration. They'll be a little bit darker, but they're not going to grow as fast. Vice versa. If you look at the video here at the very top there, that's like 800 to 1,000 par. Pretty bright colors. A little not nearly as I guess vibrant, I would say, as if it was in the lower 300-ish par range. But I'm growing a lot faster up that 800 to the mom joke section and that 1,000 par. Now, I'm definitely, guys, don't throw your corals in the 1,000 par. That's something that they grew into just because that's how the rock structure was. So 300 to 350, I've been successful with every type of acropora, even the torts, depending on the species or type of tort it is, are still doing pretty well. I know in this video here, if you look to the far left rock structure underneath the green slimer on the right side of that rock structure, there is a tort there, and that's at about 300-ish to 325 par, and it does very, very well, because you got to remember, in this tank, 250 par is at the bottom glass. So that it's about 300, 320 par, 350 maybe, and that tort is doing pretty well. Now, the coloration of it is not as dark, it's not as vibrant, but the growth is pretty good. So again, you're going to sacrifice either. But yeah, so yeah, Austin, if you want to submit that stuff, or you want to go to the Discord, you guys can do that too. If you have Facebook, I believe there's a Facebook called Roast My Reef, and they have some awful stuff going on in that. It's pretty funny though. If you have a sense of humor, definitely do it. If you're hypersensitive, it's probably not going to work out for you, but it's all fun. If you could take a joke, it'd be fun. What's the Discord code? There is no code. Look in the link, or look in the description of this video. You should see the Discord link, but there is no code. And Andrea, we have the Roast My Reef on there, right? I'll have to check. Yeah, we can roast. Yeah. Or if not, you could just post your picture, or Andrea can create a section, or I'll create a section. You guys can post your stuff. We can talk about it. It's not a big deal. My Duncan has been closed up for over a month. The other corals seemed fine. Any thoughts? Okay. Well, Tim, when it comes to corals in the tank, when it's a mixed reef, one thing you have to understand is you can't make everything happy. That's just how it is. So the rule of thumb is, if one coral is not happy, don't make any changes to the tank. You can move that coral. So say, or you can change up flow, because those two things are not really that significant. Changing up flow or moving a coral isn't going to negatively impact the entire tank. Now, if you decided to make alkalinity changes or calcium changes or salinity changes or light changes, those are going to be a little bit more impactive on your, if that's the word I'm looking for, on your coral. So with that said, if your Duncan's closed up, try to change up the flow a little bit. One thing you can do as well is look at the coral about 2 or 3 hours after your lights go off at night. You might have a pest or something picking at it. You might have a fish or a hermit crab or something that is obsessed with that coral that kind of makes it mad and bothers it all night. and then it doesn't really want to open up during the day. So check that out. Usually wait 2 or 3 hours after the lights go off. That's when all the critters come out. So other than that, I wouldn't change anything. Leave the light alone. Leave the alkalinity, calcium, and leave the salinity alone. Move the coral if you want. Change the flow if you want, or look at it when the lights are off. That's what I would recommend. Other than that, you maybe consider doing an ICP test. There might be a minor element or a trace element that's not there or lacking or even overdosed, whatever reason. But yeah, I would do that first. I wouldn't make any major changes. Yes, mom joke section. Yeah, in the mom joke section, there's some stuff there. The worst is when you are scooping salt and you stick your head into the bucket and sniff it, and it's so strong you can taste it. Yeah, when you're mixing the salt and it blows up into your face. Yeah, I usually take my salt out of the bag when I get it in from Fritz, and then I dump it in the bucket. That way I can put a lid on it so the moisture doesn't get to it. And during that process, it blows up into my face. It's pretty rough. Went holidays for a week. Had someone looking after my tank, just feeding the fish. Got a call. A couple clownfish had died. Got home to a diatom bloom. Nitrates above 40 now, 15 ppm. Okay, rule of thumb, guys. When you have somebody visiting your tank, one, you always have a camera on the tank. It doesn't have to be recording. It just allows you to look at it, check it out. Make sure it's on the display tank, and make sure you have one in your sump. There's very, very cheap cameras that you can use for that. The second thing is, if you tell somebody to feed your tank, make sure you have that food set aside. I don't care if you have to take little baggies and measure out the amount of food you want in that tank and put the day on it and the time. Because if you just say, hey, feed my tank, everybody, especially people who are not in the hobby, think the fish are always hungry, which they are, but that doesn't mean they need to be fed. They're like children. You don't need to feed them every time they're hungry. So with that said, when people feed your tank that they're not familiar with the hobby, they're going to overfeed it. And that's what happened there. So most likely that's probably what you're dealing with. So I would go ahead and do a water change, siphon out the diatoms if you can, and then just go slow about it. And yeah, so just keep that in mind. If you guys are going to have people feeding your tanks, portion out the food, put it in bags. You guys are already getting on to Discord. Here we go. Oh no. See, I'm so far behind. I'm 7 days behind on memes. Okay, I'll have to get to that. So yeah, so keep that in mind, Bob. Just Gabe's coming in with the emojis. Yeah, if you guys want to be a member, it's like $1 a month. I'll put you on the scrolling credits, and then you get access to a bunch of interesting emojis that are interesting, to say the least. Yeah, so hopefully that helps. Do you still have an algae bloom? How do I get rid of it? Well, just as I said before, start doing some water changes, manual removal, and then just go slow about it. How long were you on holiday? For a week? Man. Yeah, and don't have that person do it again. And if they do, make sure you have it organized for them so they can't mess it up. All right. The only problem with running SPS at that par level is if you're running a mixed reef, you don't want your sand bed to be 250 par, do you? Well, Darren, when it comes to my tank, because I'm not really running a mix, it's primarily SPS. The 250 par at the sand bed is fine for me because that's the type of tank that I run. But if you have a mixed reef and you have a lot more LPS, ZOAs, stuff that doesn't require that type of par, then no, you probably don't want 250 at the bottom. I'd say 75 at the bottom would be pretty acceptable. And again, it depends on the rock structure too. So you want to have a mixed range. A lot of people like to put their soft corals and their LPS towards the bottom of the tank with that lower par. Same with chalices and other like Fabias and stuff like that. Acans, all that stuff, they don't really require a lot of par. So having that lower 70 to 125-ish at the bottom is fine. But as you work up through the rock structure, you want to make sure that you have, for your Monty caps, your basic digitatas and stuff like that, they like that 200 to 300 pars range. And then up towards the top, you can put staghorns, other like stuff like WWCs or calitorts, other acropores that like that higher par range. Those will do fine. So just, a lot of people like to plan out where their corals are going to go ahead of time, and you can just base your par off of that. The yellow tip I got from you is taking over my tank. Do you want some of it back? I don't know. Are you close? If you're local, yeah. I mean, I don't want you to spend a bunch of money on shipping, but yeah, the yellow tip I can actually use some of that WWC yellow tip. We can work something out. I would not be mad. Actually, I actually killed a colony of that the other day. Yeah, so yeah, hit me up. Hit me up. Is it near a window? Can you also do a tank blackout for a couple days? You can also. What are we talking about? I don't like tank blackouts. A lot of people like to do that stuff for dino and other algae and stuff like that. I really don't like it. It causes unnecessary stress. Plus, there's already stress in the tank for the fact that he lost 2 clownfish. Their nutrient spikes are stressful. So if you take whatever killed the coral or killed the fish, the increased nutrients, the algae uptake, there's already stress in that tank. The last thing you want to do is starve the coral for light and a food source for 2 or 3 days. You're just going to cause unnecessary stress. You probably stress out the fish. I would just stick with the water changes and the manual removal until you get your water parameters back to normal. So yeah, that's what I would do, Bob. I found that my LPS Lobos hammers are happy at about 100 to 150 par. Torches are around 150 to 800 par. Yep, that sounds about right to me, Darren. Will it hurt the corals? It can hurt the corals. If you already have a stressed out environment, Bob, and you start doing blackouts, you're going to just cause more problems. Manual removal and siphoning out algae, using tangs, using emerald crab, stuff like that to help consume it is probably your best bet. But, hey, man, whatever you want to do. What would be some indicators that your skimmer is undersized? Well, if you're constantly having algae, so if you're doing a wet skimming, so there's 2 different types of skimming you can do. You can do dry skim or a wet skim. The dry skim is obviously just going to be, you're not going to have to empty the cup out as much or the drain container. It's not going to pull out as much from the tank because, again, it's a drier skim. But if you go wet skimming, which, again, you're going to have more bubbles feeding the top, over the top into the cup, and you're going to pull out more nutrients as you go. So if you're wet skimming and you're still struggling with excess nutrients, you cut back on the feeding. Again, excess nutrients. If you're macroalgae, say you don't have any, maybe you can consider doing a refugium as well. Dual sources of uptake, but or removal of nutrients. So if you're cut back on feeding and you're wet skimming and you're still having nutrient issues, then and you can't cut back on feeding anymore, then yeah, your skimmer's probably underrated for the tank. I usually like to take my skimmers and triple the water volume. So say you have a 100-gallon tank, I would buy a skimmer that is capable of 300 to a 400-gallon tank. Throw it on there, dry skim or dial it down. You'll be fine. Yeah. Yep. And worst case scenario, if you're over skimming, which is possible, you can always feed more. You can always dose nitrates and phosphates, or you can turn the skimmer off throughout the day and have it kick on at night to help keep the CO2 elevated or removed from the tank. Not that I know of, at least for me. Oops, man, I'm getting behind here. We got about 10 minutes left, so I want to make sure I get through these. Hey, quick hello. Clicked like, can't stay this time. Peace. Hey, thanks, Reef and Chill. Appreciate you being here for a minute. You guys are doing a whole bunch of emojis. Yes, you guys all love dicks. Pretty funny. All right. Let me see what we got here. All right, here we go. Off the rails again. No, dude, it's bigger. It's all about the angle. Okay. Just keep my lights off, not like pitch black. Yeah. There's like some natural sunlight in the morning. Sometimes I'm just going through your guys' stuff. I'm getting through these comments so I can move down to another question here. I find keeping SPS tank only easy than a mixed reef tank. I find keeping a SPS tank only easy than a mixed reef. Well, the thing with an SPS tank is they all have pretty much the same requirements. When you move into mixed reef territory, then you got to make sure you're making the LPS happy, the soft corals happy, the ACANs, the torches, the hammers, and on top of that, you want to make sure you're keeping your SPS and your acros happy. That's difficult, just because they all require different ranges of light, different flows. Alkalinity, not so much. You can say at 8.59, and any one of those species will do fine. So yeah, I would say a mixed reef is definitely more difficult than an SPS tank. I'm sure people might feel differently about that. But when it comes to a mixed reef, it just comes down to planning. You don't want to throw a hammer coral on top of a rock structure where you're going to have an acropora colony. It's just basic planning of corals, and then based on how much light you have, your rock structure, all that kind of stuff. Mixed reef requires a little bit more attention to detail and planning. If you want everything to have a better chance of being happy and successful than it does an SPS tank, at least in my opinion. Anyone have a pond? I know it's off topic, but koi fish look looking cool to me. By the way, my brother's name is Brandon, for anybody who wants to know if you're new here. Brandon, I would say I don't have a pond, and koi fish are cool, and I know somebody who used to eat them. I don't know why. They just did. Tangs and manual removal is how I conquered the algae in my tank. Yep, that's a good way to do it. You can add a refugium. You can skim more to help as well. Just skim those nutrients down. Understand if you're testing nitrates and phosphates and there's algae in the tank and you can see it and it's growing, then you're not getting a proper reading because the nitrates and phosphates that are in the water column are being consumed by the algae as you test them, so you're not getting an accurate reading. Same thing with cyanobacteria. If you see cyanobacteria in your tank, testing phosphates is pointless because you're not going to get a good reading on that. So. I still have those corals, the beginner corals. I still have those corals, beginner corals. You and I were going back and forth. Were you still interested? I could use some more corals. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do it. I'm actually sending out about six radions to be fixed. And once they come back, then I'll be trying to get more coral. But right now I'm kind of packed between the 2 radions I have and then the tub. So I have to really kind of figure out what I want to do. I do need more green bird's nests and some basic stuff. So I probably should hit up a frag swap soon, to be honest with you. Pennsylvania, somewhat close to Travis. Yep, Pennsylvania. Purple bird's nest of paradise, green bird's nest, a couple others. Yeah, those all sound good. Yeah, I will. I'll let you guys know when I'm ready for that. I could definitely use some more. If you're local and you don't need to ship, we can work something out sooner. I'd hate for you guys to ship right now. It's pretty ridiculous. I found out that live natural bacteria helps eat and dissolve dinos in the tank. Small doses help me out. Yeah, there are some bacteria that you can dose, but the thing is those bacteria are already found in the tank. I think dinos in the tank all the time. What happens is when you have low consistent nitrates and phosphates, the beneficial bacteria that would naturally eat those dinos dies because it doesn't have a food source based off the appropriate levels of nitrates and phosphates. And that's when dino outcompetes the beneficial bacteria and then takes over the tank. So if you're adding that beneficial bacteria, I mean, you can literally just increase your nutrients to keep them stable and do the same thing without spending the money on the dosing of bacteria. But if it works, right? If you make your pond deep enough, we're talking about ponds, you can keep them in the pond in the winter. I just put a heater in the water during the months. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because if the first couple layers of the pond freezes, if it's deep enough, and then they'll swim underneath. I wonder if you can drill a hole through it and put fish food through there. Probably. Surface agitation. Yeah, okay. I'm in Minnesota. Do you bring them in during the winter? Okay, you guys are talking about koi fish. 4 foot deep. I want a pond. My kids will probably jump in it though. All right, I think we're good. Oh yeah, but you have to take a loan out for gas over there. Yeah, it's $5 a gallon right now here in Pennsylvania. It's actually $4.99.9. So why don't you just make it $5? You're not convincing me otherwise. Hey man, looking for a true Walt Disney acro. I have one. I have Walt Disney's. I could probably cut you one. I have to see how big it is. You can hit me up via email. We'll work something out. Need a grow out. Yeah, I mean, I have one. I got to see how big it is. But yeah, I do have some. And I'm growing out a colony in the 300. But $8 in LA for gas? A gallon? How's that even possible? Yeah, man, $5. Yeah, man, jeez. Yeah, we also we just went to the grocery store and there's like no food. Like there's stuff missing. There's like the cereal aisle is almost empty. There's a bunch of stuff that we usually get that's not there. There wasn't even taco sauce. I'm trying to have venison tacos tonight, and there's not even any in there. But speaking of that, I'm gonna go eat some tacos. Anyways, guys, that's it for the live stream. We did pretty good, about 25 minutes. Stay tuned. We'll do one next week, and I will hopefully get a video out this week for you guys. Kind of just playing it by ear when it comes to my dad. So we'll see what happens. I will have to go back to Vermont here soon, probably for that. And as always, we do have the buy 3 get 1 free for 3D printing, and we are doing the 20 packs for 300 shipped. I have 2 left, so if you want to get them now. All right, guys. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you later.